Good evening, everybody. This is Jesper from the Gig Economy Show, and we have Tom here tonight. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
So we're just sitting here waiting for the radio show to go online, and we're missing one. See if you guys can guess who we're missing. No, nobody.
Yeah, Steve will be along here in a little bit.
Steve did say he was going to join us, though.
Yep.
So definitely. Oh, I gotta get the banner on. And we have already have one watcher. Emily, welcome tonight. Please go ahead and share with all your friends and all your lists and so forth. Thank you.
Oh, let's do that one.
Trying to see if you got. Yeah, Emily, we're doing good. Hopefully you are doing good as well. So sorry that it's a little bit quiet, but we're just kind of doing the final checkups and stuff before Tom pushes the button and goes live online.
Right.
So we're just waiting for the countdown here.
About 2 minutes out.
2 minutes out. And if you have any comments or questions or anything, obviously once the phone line gets open, go ahead and call the phone line, or you can post your comments or questions right here on the comment, and we'll see them and we'll answer them as quickly as you can get to them. What a beautiful day today, though. How warm is it where you are right now, Tom?
Give me just a minute. I'm sorry. I'm doing
Oh, go ahead.
things, trying to finish getting set up here. So.
Yep. No problem. Yeah, so nice, Catherine. Here, I'm in Michigan right now, and we just had a 70s day, which those are rare here in the fall. So just an absolutely gorgeous day. Yeah, I know it's gonna be a good weekend.
About 30 seconds out. Yeah, let's see. You got to put you on mute. I'm going to add 1 minute and I'll put you on mute for just a sec.
Studio web interface.
All right. We got the phone line set up and ready to go there. And I added another moment in time there, so that's good. Well, hopefully Steve can join us.
He said he will. He'll be joining us from the road, audio only.
All right, 30 seconds. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome in Friday night, TNCradio.live. This is Driver Nation. I'm Tom Kelly, along with Jesper from the Gig Economy podcast. Jesper, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I am doing great, Tom. I'm doing great. Good to know you're doing good too.
Yeah, we're doing just great here, broadcasting live from Houston, Texas. 80 degrees here in Houston today. Hardly a cloud in the sky. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 86. We're going to be beautiful for the next several days. Then we have our big, for us, it's a big cool down with the chance of thunderstorms coming in early part of next week, where our low could get down to 56 degrees.
Oh, we had some areas with snow this last week there, Tom.
So yeah, this is the time of year where we get to laugh at everybody else because our weather turns out to be pretty remarkable for the next couple of months and well into November, December, January. Sometimes we get a cold snap somewhere in there that might last, even 4 days.
Ooh.
Yeah. Somebody asked me once, what happens or when is it winter in Houston? And I said, well, if it happens on a weekday, pretty much nobody notices. On the weekend, we'll go out and walk around and that kind of stuff. But, it just depends on which day it comes.
I was going to say, you don't get much that actually stays in the ground, right?
No, we haven't had any significant snowfall. Gosh, we had that huge issue, the freezing issue and all that kind of stuff a couple of years back. That'll be 2 years in February. But as far as snowfall, it's probably been 10 or 15 years. We had a white Christmas one year. That was 2004.
Wow.
But other than that, what's really weird, and this, they say that even though it's happened every time for the last 100 years, they say there's no relationship here. It's just a weird coincidence that the only time we've had measurable snowfall, we were hit by a hurricane that year. Okay, so that doesn't mean every time we get hit by a hurricane, it snowed. What it means is every time we've had measurable snowfall, we get hit by a hurricane sometime. And maybe it was just a glancing blow. May not have been much of a hurricane, but it was enough that, we took measures to protect ourselves or whatever. And this has happened every single time it snowed for, I forget how many years this goes back. And all the weathermen say, really promise this is just a weird coincidence. There's no relationship whatsoever, except that it keeps happening.
Well, and how do they really know? I mean, according to what we know now, there is no relationships, right?
We know about weather right now. There is absolutely no relationship. But you know how that is. I'm sure there was a time in the past where they thought there was no relationship between lightning and thunder.
Right.
Then after a while they went, you don't really hear the thunder if you don't get the lightning. Maybe we should rethink this a little bit.
Correct.
So they might at some point have to retract that. But as far as we know, there's no relationship between that. So it's very weird to get snow in Houston. 2004 was like the worst year of my wife and I's life. My father, both of her parents, my grandfather, and a good friend all died within a few months of each other during 2004. So it felt like all we did was go to funerals all year. And a good friend moved away and all this. Come Christmas Eve, we get a beautiful snowfall. I mean, one of the big flakes, got a couple of inches. And I mean, it was so wonderful. And my wife and I took the dog out for a walk, and he loved it. He just thought it was the greatest thing he'd ever seen. Well, it was the greatest thing he'd ever seen, and rolled around in it. And he was having such a good time. I had to just stop and just burst out laughing like somebody had told me the greatest joke I'd ever heard. Because after all the crap of the entire year, and then you get this beautiful snowfall, white Christmas thing. And what was even funnier was my son and my ex had gone to St. Louis with the number one reason to go to St. Louis for Christmas that year, because they wanted to have a white Christmas. It didn't snow in St. Louis, but it did snow in Houston.
Well, you just never know, right?
Well, nobody, I mean, could have put a lot of money on that bet and it not paid off. I mean, it was very, very strange and unusual, but yeah. So, we're looking at what could be another weird, weather-wise, for those of us who spend a lot of time driving, it's going to be another weird winter, where it looks like from the Northwest all the way through the Midwest and onto the East Coast, going to have some pretty wet times, especially for you guys up there the Great Lakes. Looks like you're going to have a really rough winter. Where down here in the Houston area, kind of like last year, and shooting across the South all the way into Arizona, Southern California, looks like it's going to be another very, very dry winter, which of course feel awful for the people in the far Southwest who, they hardly have a glass of water to drink anymore. I mean, it's just terrible there. We're dry. And I guess officially right now we're extremely dry. Yeah, they had dry, extremely dry, drought, very drought, extremely drought, serious. No, I'm not kidding, drought, and we're gonna dry up and blow away. And we're not in bad position. We're not great, but we can use the rain.
We can definitely use that up here too.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're going to get a very snowy winter.
So I don't mind snow at all, and I don't mind driving in it either. I still remember one of my best nights ever. I took that. I drove in it was a Friday night, and there was a giant blizzard going on, and this was probably in my earlier years driving, maybe 16. And I was driving in a small Mazda 3 hatchback, and I made so much money that night. It was crazy because drivers stayed home. They didn't want to drive.
Right. Yeah.
And I kept at it, and I would just, drove according to the conditions. You don't go crazy fast or anything. I mean, Tom, I would have 2, 3, 4 people queued up. I mean, I had a whole hour and a half worth of rides in front of me already queued up because there was that many people waiting for rides. And I could have, I stayed out way longer than I normally do. And I remember I did really, really well that night.
Wow. That's a question really. That was actually the first conversation that Steve and Jason and I had on this show was what do you as drivers do when there's inclement weather? And, there's two schools of thought. One is, I ain't doing that. This is one of the great, drive when it's nice, but I'm not going out there when it's bad. And the other one is, the worse it gets, the more I want to drive because the more money I can make. And I'm willing to take that extra risk. And so I'm always curious when I talk to drivers. That's always one of the first questions I like to ask them is, given your choice, if it snows in Houston, okay, are you jumping in your car? Now, of course, there are times in Houston where, we get those huge rains and everything floods and all that, and nobody should be on the road. They beg people, don't go on the roads right now because we're getting 6-7 inches of rain in the next 2 hours. And we do, but just general, it's a thunderstorm going on. A lot of people, there's just a thunderstorm. For me, when I was doing a lot of driving, I'd be like, okay, I headed out. It's going to storm tonight. I'm going to be out, and because that was a great time to make some bucks. Because a lot of people are just like, not me. I don't have to do that. I'm not going to do anything in the bad weather.
So I'm the same way. I would go out. I certainly don't stay in because of it. The problem is, and this is, you may have a perfect car, you may have perfect tires, and everything might be just for the conditions all good, but we still have to. The problem is with all the other people who are driving who don't have that, right? So you got to pay attention to the other drivers too, obviously, but that's the risk part of it is I can make sure that I have winter tires on and have the right vehicle and so forth, but you just never know because somebody else might not have it. But so far I've never had an accident driving,
Good.
Uber or not, and it's been good. I enjoy being out. I enjoy I just slow down. I will tell people, I'll tell my passengers, I'm sorry, I'm taking it very easy. You're gonna be late, and people are just saying that's fine. Just get us there safe. That's the number one complaint, or not complaint. Number one comment from people is just get us there safe.
Exactly. And people are usually, the writers are usually very patient with that. They get it, but
absolutely,
and they're glad they're not the ones who have to drive in it.
Right, exactly.
What I have not experienced yet is now that having your food delivered is as commonplace as going out and picking up your mail or whatever. I haven't yet seen where we've had a lot of flooding or other, big time inclement weather here in Houston. And at the same time, people trying to order food and that kind of stuff. So I'd be interested in seeing what happens to that in the Houston area and how people would survive, especially if we had a couple of days of flooding and which we do that sometimes here. I mean, right. It's not something we do every year, but every couple of years we will have a big flood, and because we live in a tropical climate. It's very, very hot in the summer and very humid, and sometimes that equals big time, especially either in November or in March. We'll have our biggest rains. We had one on tax day, April the 15th, and another one on Memorial Day. So it could get into May, where I'm not making the people. Oh, you're making where we get 7 or 8 inches of rain per hour for a couple of hours.
Yes.
In the city,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and everything shuts down for a day or so, but we're used to that here.
Right. I remember I can remember that kind of rain, but certainly only for about 20 minutes, half an hour at a time. We'll have that kind of rain, and then it stops. And there's certain intersections in Grand Rapids that you just stay away from because you know that they are going to flood, right? But other than that, again, it's just all knowing, and I would stay out. I would stay out again, unless there's a tornado warning. Then that would probably make me go home.
Yeah, you could outrun the tornado. Come on.
Maybe now, not my old car.
Yeah. By the way, you have a new family member, huh?
I do have a new family member. Yep. I haven't named it yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we acquired a 2020 Kia Sedona. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I have a friend with the last name Sonoda.
Sonota.
Yeah, and when the Sedonas came out, I would say, "Hey, Mark, why don't you grab you a Sedona? Get a Sonota for the Sedona for the Sonota." He thought that was funny the first couple of times I said it, then he didn't think it was funny anymore. But
So Jason was actually, he was why didn't you guys get an SUV? And honestly, we enjoy the minivans, and we've always had a minivan, and yeah, it's just, for me, it's a natural thing to have a minivan. There's just more room in it. I mean, I think they're nicer, and so yeah, we went that route.
yeah,
But
well,
I can't believe that how expensive cars are right now. That's
crazy. And I talked on here a couple of months back about us selling the original Uber mobile that I used here.
Yep.
Thousands and thousands more than it had been offered to us a year before that. More than double. And I forget the exact numbers now, but we got like $12,000 or $13,000 for something that we almost didn't pay that much for. We drove it for a few years, and I think when it was all said and done, we had spent $3,000 to have a car for 6 years or something like that.
Can't beat that.
Right. Really, seriously, if you look at it as a, did we come out ahead? No, it's not like, we bought it and then sold it 6 years later for more money than we paid for it. But when you go back and you look at how much did we get for it versus how much did we use it, and, say divided by, cost per mile or something, boy, we came out really, really good compared to what you would normally expect.
Well, and then of course add your Uber earnings into that too.
Right. Yeah, made some money off of it as well. I never even really put that cost into it. I used it for a short time. It was my first Uber mobile, but I didn't use it for a long time. I just didn't like the ride, and I didn't think it was a comfortable ride for passengers. So switched over to a Honda CRV and was much happier with that. Hey, right. we got to take a quick break on the radio side, so I'm going to do that, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to TNC Radio.live. Stay right there.
Okay. And anybody who is watching, please do give us comments or questions or anything like that. We'll do the best we can to kind of follow along. And we only we have a short knit group tonight, but hopefully we'll get some more. Go ahead and share with everybody and hopefully we can get some good conversations going here. So yeah, we were told Tom that actually we didn't. When we bought the car, it wasn't that much cheaper really than had we just bought brand new. The problem we ran into is we needed the vehicle now, and getting brand new, it was 6 months out.
Right.
And so that became a problem. So, yep. But yeah, it's just crazy. So
you just have to wait?
Oh no, we have it now because we bought it was a 2020, so it was a little old.
Okay, yeah.
But it's super nice. It's right now I'm just waiting for it to get online. So Demo Steve is he has a different arrangement, He has a different thing going on right now. He's hoping he can join in the second hour at this point. So hopefully he'll be here soon.
Oh, did he say that to you?
Yeah, he said he was going to get caught up in some nasty traffic. He was hoping this would be done earlier, but he's going to try and call in on the second line and the second hour. Yeah, so hopefully he can be in. So right now we're just kind of talking about the price of new vehicles and just vehicles in general, and that kind of stuff. One of the things that we were looking for was obviously a new vehicle for driving Uber. And that was a big thing right here in the Grand Rapids market, in West Michigan market, is definitely XL is where the money is right now. How is it in Houston? Do you know?
Yeah, well, XL drivers always do very well. And that was something that I was considering at one point, was getting into, I forget what the car was now, the vehicle was now, but I was considering getting into doing the XL stuff. Yep. XL, I mean, it's a mixed blessing, because if you stay busy, and you do it the right way, and it means a lot of airport runs, because that's where XL comes in handy most often. If you get that going on and you do it right, you can do pretty well. But the problem with most XL vehicles is they take a lot more fuel,
Right.
And you don't get near the gas mileage that you do out of something like a Honda CRV or others that are either flex fuel or just don't require the kind of, because usually something that can qualify as an XL weighs more, is longer, and takes more fuel per mile than others.
I get about 23 miles per gallon in city driving on my minivan.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad. So, but yeah, what I usually do is, so I do the weekends, right? And I will usually drive XL only, XL and comfort only. I don't even take any X rides. And
Wow.
you end up getting a lot of people who they don't want to wait. So they will just take an XL, and so they'll pay XL for one person in a car. So it works out pretty good that way.
Yeah. Cool.
And I'm generally I'm back to back. So
all right, we're about 40 seconds out, I think. Yep. 40 seconds as of there. We'll get ready to come back on the radio side.
good.
Let's see. Let me look at it. Very light crowd tonight. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome back in TNCradio.live. It's Friday night. Friday night, that means it's time for Driver Nation, where we turn our attention to all things around the gig economy. I'm joined tonight by Jesper from the Gig Economy podcast, and Jesper is located up in Michigan. I'm broadcasting from Houston, Texas, and we have a chance to get together and talk. Interestingly enough, this particular station was originally founded with the whole idea that it would be 24/7 dedicated to rideshare. But the funny thing about it was, Jesper, we founded it on and got ready to broadcast on March the 24th, 2020.
Oh,
March the 12th, 2020. The entire world ended. That was kind of the end of rideshare right there. So we stepped back and said, well, okay, well, let's not start a radio station for rideshare when rideshare doesn't exist.
right.
And if you'll remember, right when everything shut down, they said, well, this will only be for a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was going to be, well, maybe a month or two.
Yep.
And it was, well, maybe for the summer. And so it was, so somewhere in there, we compared notes. I got my team together and we compared notes, and we realized that in one way or another, we all had either family members or personally been involved in trucking. And so we backed off and retooled the station and said, okay, let's concentrate on trucking instead of rideshare. And it was great, because then at that point, I mean, remember, there was not much traffic out there, and
right.
A lot of the traffic that was out there were truck drivers.
Absolutely.
And who needed additional information because of, a lot of cities didn't have traffic reports anymore. And so they gave us a chance to help out in a way that that was really fortuitous for us and for the drivers. And so that was a kind of a last minute change, but we still had our connections in and love for the gig economy and the rideshare world. So that's why we still on Friday nights, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. On Friday nights, this is the time when truck drivers listen to our station the least.
Right. Right.
Yeah, everything about that makes sense.
It's also, if you look at it from that perspective, and obviously rideshare drivers aren't really going to be listening a whole lot probably, but it is like this. I mean, Friday and Saturday is busy nights for rideshare drivers.
Right. And that's why I said, okay, so Friday nights make a lot of sense because then the drivers who are out can listen to us while they're out doing their thing.
Correct.
And so we have we've been doing this now. Just celebrated year number 1 of this show, and we've done pretty much every week. I think maybe we've skipped
a couple of them, maybe. Yep.
Not many, but we've been out there for most of them.
So Tom, tell me this: what made you join? What made you join the platform originally when you started driving?
I've been in IT for close to 40 years.
Okay.
And I've been an executive with a large company, and that job came to an end when we merged with another company. It was kind of funny because I was on the merge team, and I thought, "Oh, my job's safe forever."
Right.
I was on vacation, and they called me up and said, "Yeah, we've got I forget how many it was, 15,000 too many Americans or something like that. So bye." And so I sat around for a little while and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I wasn't really sure. And I walked in at one point to walked in where my wife was in the other room and said, "I'm retired. I'm hereby retired." And I walked out, and then 15 minutes later, walked back in there and said, "I have absolutely no idea what retirement means. I need to do something. So I've decided I'm going to be an Uber driver." And she said, "That's great." She said, "Have you ever been in an Uber?" I said, Never been in one. She said, "Do you know what it takes to be an Uber driver?" I said, "I have no clue. But I'm going to go find out, and I'm going to go do it because I don't think it's a good idea for men to sit at home alone all day. They just get themselves in trouble."
Oh, I agree.
So so that's what I decided to do, and jumped into it like the next week. And matter of fact, my let's see, first started driving. It was Super Bowl weekend of 2019, I think. 2018. I'd have to go back and look at the calendar. And the first person I picked up, I took them all the way downtown Houston. And as I dropped her off, I said, "Well, that was my first ever trip. How'd I do?" And she said, "Well, you did great. I didn't know it was your first trip." I said, "Yeah, first time. So, and I guess I'll keep doing it." And, from there, dropped her off, and the little thing went off, and okay, I'll go do another one and another one. And the next thing you know, I'd done 1,000 rides.
It goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was always just a weekend warrior. And so I think I've done close to 4,000 rides today between both platforms, maybe even a little bit more. But I remember when I first signed up for Uber, I was literally driving that same night I signed up. I mean, back then, the approval process was somewhat quicker. I mean,
I think it took 3 days for me to get approved, and it went by really fast. I mean, I wasn't ready. I had to go clean up the car and stuff like that.
I know, right? That was the thing. You cleaned up the car, you got a nice phone mount, so you didn't have to hold it and that kind of stuff, and then you're off to the road. And I must admit, I liked it from the get-go. It was there's something about it for me. I mean, I jokingly call it my therapy, but it is my therapy. I've been in IT my whole life as well. I'm a software developer, and it's a way of getting away from the screens. It's a way of getting out and talking to people, being social with people. And then I love knowing that I have a positive impact on getting people home safe at night. Those are
Yeah,
some things that for
yeah.
me does it.
And there's something weirdly addictive about it too.
Oh, totally.
And if we had a big crowd here, I'd press this more and I'd get a lot of nodding of the head on this. But all of us have experienced where we have felt like we busted our hump all day, and we're driving home, and it was like that was a really great day. And you look and you realize that you've worked the entire day and you made $32. Okay, and you go, why the hell am I doing this for $32? But at the same time, you're like, I don't care. That was still a great day. And
Right.
other days where you can make, $320 and go, today really sucked. And a lot of it has to do with the interaction that you have with your passengers and those kinds of things. I've never done the food delivery thing. And the number one reason is because there's so many apartments in Houston. I hate picking up at apartments, and delivering food at apartments is just a non-starter for me. I just
Oh
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, there's just no way I'm going to drive around some of these huge apartment complexes looking for apartment 71G and walk up 3 flights of stairs to hand somebody a McDonald's hamburger or something like that, and
With no tip.
with no tip, and and,
No.
just trying to find a place to park and all that. No, that's just not my thing. That's not my
Try
thing.
try and do that at night, and only half the buildings have light on the numbers, and you can't.
Right. But I would be a grouch, and be like, okay, your food is at the front gate. Come get it if you want it. I'm leaving. Bye.
No,
Yeah.
I think I've done, I don't know, maybe 10 Uber Eats. I remember there was one time I took my daughter out, and her and I just did a bunch one day. And
That I would do if I had somebody with me, and one of us was the runner and one of us was the driver.
yep.
That could even be fun. But I don't see that as just a thing that I would enjoy.
No.
Going, I'll spend my time doing that.
Well, it's not all about the money, right? But the problem is with Uber Eats, it is about the money because there's nobody else to make the experience better.
Right.
And so it's just not worth it. I value my time for too much for that. Now, Jason, on the other hand, he's all over Uber Eats.
Mhm.
And food delivery and not food. Now, I shouldn't say Uber Eats because he does not like Uber Eats, but he likes the freight part of it, so like the delivery part. He's much better at not having passengers in his car now. He likes that,
Yeah.
and so
But you,
we different that way.
yeah, but you got to have the coin to, you got to be getting paid to make that worth it.
Oh, absolutely,
Not getting paid. It's like, I don't know. Why am I doing this?
Well, I mean, it's hard to have a good, meaningful conversation with a burger.
Yeah, well, exactly. And yeah, I'm just I'm not going to say never, but it's just not something that's high on my list of things that I feel like I need to do is do the food thing. And all great respect, because I love Uber Eats and DoorDash and all that kind of stuff as a customer. So I have mucho respect for the drivers and care a lot about them. And of course, doing the show and everything, have learned a lot about what their life is like.
Right.
That's something that for me is like, oh yeah, I just got to go out there and deliver burgers or something.
Exactly. I'm going to change topic on just a little bit, going back to some of the changes through the years on Uber. Obviously, you were on the platform when they had the multiplier, right?
No.
Okay, you were not.
Just as I came on, they were dropping that.
Okay. For me, obviously, and this is where it was interesting. So that was a pretty big change, obviously, when they switched the multiplier and went on to the pricing that we know today.
Right.
The biggest thing with that, honestly, it wasn't so much, I mean, the amount of money, because we actually found that particularly in Grand Rapids, if you do a lot of the short drives, short runs, you make just as good money by just staying downtown or whatever. So it's not like the pricing model is drastically different unless it's a super busy day like New Year's Eve and busy days. Those nights, obviously, the multiplier will make you lots more money. But for me and for a lot of other drivers I know in the market, the multiplier created just a sense of, it was this urgency of driving up to 1 o'clock, and then it was the whole, it was the adrenaline rush of what were you gonna, how busy was it gonna be, how much were you gonna make or whatever, that 1 hour between or 2 hours between 1 and 3, and that often made you stay out to bar out, that kind of, that whole anticipation of what was it gonna be like, you
Sure.
know. And that all disappeared. That all fizzled out when they removed the multiplier. And so that was a little bit, that was a time that was like, okay, what am I going to do now? Because again, from the same perspective, there's not a lot of meaningful conversation you're going to get out of drunks, right? At that point, you just got to get them home.
Right.
So, but so,
and see, I've always been a morning guy. I get up early, and so when I was doing my driving, I always drove in the mornings. I never was comfortable doing the bar scene late at night. I did it a few times, but no.
I don't think I would have done it in bigger cities. So you are you actually in Houston proper?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I don't know that I would have done that. See, I wouldn't have been Detroit, Chicago. No, I wouldn't have done that. But this is Grand Rapids. This is
Right.
It's a much different market.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't mind doing the bar crowd, and to me it makes it fun. I mean, I have a couple of horror stories, but it's nothing at all to to write home about. And never once have I been scared for my life, of course.
Right.
But which obviously makes a huge difference.
Right. Yeah. I've had a couple uncomfortable instances, and I did have. Did have a drunk fellow in my car. But I tell you what, I'm going to take a break on the radio side. And when I come back, I'm going to tell you about this story because it was kind of wild. A very interesting story that happened a couple of years back. So I'll save that. We'll do that when we come back in just a couple of minutes. On TNCradio.live, you're listening to Driver Nation. We're going to take a quick break on the YouTube side. We're going to be right with you. And we'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to TNC Radio.live, Friday Night Driver Nation. Stay tuned.
And so apparently tonight is turning into stories from the road.
Well,
that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we got one person watching on YouTube. And,
not a lot of stuff going on, but again, as I mentioned to you, there's not a lot of big stuff going on right now in the Uber world. Of course, I mean, I've a couple people. There was the one guy that he got put in prison and that kind of stuff. So there's some newsworthy items and so forth. But as far as big things to discuss on the platform right now, I think this kind of things are calm a little bit right now. Obviously, the fuel issue, which is always an issue.
Always an issue.
And so there's that.
Okay. So here's the thing, though. If
any job at Amazon can turn into a higher paying career for employees.
Is Steve for sure coming in on the second hour? Because if not, I'm thinking we'll just make this a 1 hour show tonight.
That's fine. He said he was gonna. I'm good with a 1 hour show, but he said he was gonna try. That's all he said.
Okay. Well, then let's do that. Let's just we'll run it out to the top of the hour and thank everybody and drop into other things for the evening. So let me set up. I'll do an extra hour of Gig Economy podcast. How about that?
That sounds good to me.
So
lots of good episodes there. So
yeah. Yeah, I need to freshen up. I've got a bunch downloaded, but I haven't downloaded any recently, so I need to do that.
Okay.
Probably been a few months since I downloaded any.
Yep.
All right, so we'll go to the top of the hour and then wrap things up.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll let Steve know.
Yeah.
So I had I have lots of fun stories from the road, a couple of just horror stories, but there was one particular. We do a lot of, obviously, I'm sure you do the same, driving wedding parties around, right?
Yeah.
And there was one night, Tom. Um, it was this was winter time up here. Okay, so again, imagine lots of snow on the ground, probably I don't know six.
Wait just a minute because we're about to come back on the radio side.
Oh,
I want your story, but let's play it when we have more of an audience.
that sounds fine.
All right, coming back in 14 seconds.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, and 3, 2, 1. And welcome back in TNCradio.live, Driver Nation, on a Friday night. Happy to have you here with us. Slight change in plans. We're going to finish up this hour and wrap it up for the evening, and be back with you next week for the same stuff, same time, same channel, all that kind of good stuff. Just doing things a little bit differently tonight. We'll just do a 1-hour program. While we were on break, you started to tell me a story, and I got one for you too as well. So tell me about you were driving around a wedding party. What happened?
So this is it was the middle of winter, and it was probably, my guess is this was 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. So it was probably between 14 and 16 degrees outside, and so I was picking up some guests at a venue. And the problem is I'm an XL, and I can take parties of 6. This party happened to be 7. Okay. And
Okay.
and I just said they weren't going far, just to a hotel downtown, so maybe a 5-7 minute ride or whatever. But and I said, that's fine, I'll take this party first, and I'll come back and get the other one. And I generally will do that at no cost. So I'll just drop them first one and go back and get the other ones, because it's, again, a 5-minute ride I don't care about, right? Those are fine and easy. It's a good way of just being nice. Anyways, here it is. So I'm picking up this party, and there's this one, and I'm gonna call him a gentleman, and he's not at all, right? This was the husband of some of the a husband and wife, and he refused to be the one left behind, and he was gonna leave his wife, who was in stilettos and a party dress and had no coat on, right? And it's like, no, you can't leave her there in 14 degrees. So I ended up saying, no, we're not doing that, sir. You're gonna wait. I'll come back and get you.
Good
and
grief.
She'll get in the car.
Good grief.
I was like, what is it? Like, no. So yeah, so I took the first party down to the hotel and came back and got him, and it was all fine. But it's like, what are people thinking?
Yeah. I picked up a guy one day in front of a very, very nice sushi restaurant and bar. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking like, upscale. You're going to spend a lot of money.
Sure.
And the guy got in my car, and he was, there's no other way to say it. He was huge. I'm talking 400 or 500 pounds.
Right.
When he gets in the car, and right away, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah. I mean, seriously, the car is leaning to one side. And the guy gets in and he says, that was the best damn sushi I've ever had. And he falls over and passes out on the backseat of my car.
Oh, no.
Now, the ride is 45 minutes.
Wow.
Okay. And so I'm driving down, and he is snoring. So I finally call my wife. Okay. And I'm like, what do I do? This guy is like completely passed out. And, I get to the hotel. It's not like, he weighs 400 or 500 pounds. They're not going to help me with him.
Oh, they're not.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know what you do. And I said, and if he wakes up and he barfs sushi all over the backseat of my car, I'm like, I'm going to get out of the car and just leave it.
Just burn the car.
I'm done. I'm not even going to try. And she was like, yeah, I get that. And we had talked, well, maybe, like go to a fire station or a hospital or something and say there's a guy passed out in my car. And I seriously, I had no clue what I was going to do. And at one point I'm talking to her, she's like, what is that noise? Is something wrong with the car? I said, no, that's him snoring in the back. It was like, this huge, I can't even imitate it, the huge wheezing, snoring thing. It was really wild. We finally get to his hotel. There's this huge parking lot, huge parking lot, and a couple of different hotels. And so as I'm pulling into the parking lot, I yell at the top of my voice, "Sir, we have arrived at your hotel." And he sits up and he's kind of like, rocking back and forth, and he's going,
Oh, no.
oh, please. And I pull up in front of the hotel, and he gets out of the car and he says, "You're the best damn driver I've ever had." And he closes the door, it was like a cartoon. I did not even, I didn't look in my rearview mirror. If he passed out right there and didn't get inside, I don't care. Usually especially if I'm dropping off women, I always make sure they get inside safely.
Right.
At this time, nope. I was out of there because I wanted no responsibility for this guy whatsoever. He was just plain scary. It was scary. But what do you do? What would you do if you had a 500-pound guy who was passed out in your back seat and you couldn't wake him up?
I would call the police. I would call the police, and I would get them to wake him up.
Okay.
Get him out of my car. I don't know what else to do.
I don't know. Yeah. But I don't want to call 911 for that. I mean,
No, but you can use a local phone, police number. Well, I guess
I just,
after hours, I don't know if they
yeah,
take it. Yeah.
I hate bugging the police for that kind of stuff. I really do. I mean, I have a lot of respect for cops, and I hate to make them get involved in something like that. It seems kind of juvenile, but at the same time, what else do you do? What else can you do?
I mean, you got to get him out of your car.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't do that. So,
Right.
sorry, dude, you're out of here. And I don't know the guy. He said 2 sentences to me, about the best sushi place and the best driver. And outside of that, we had zero interaction. He could be the nicest guy in the whole world, but I don't want to mess with him when he's drunk and passed out. And
I was going to say he was inebriated as well.
yeah, and he could, squish me like a bug. I mean, he wasn't just, big and around. I mean, he was a huge guy. I mean, just,
Right.
Probably 6'5", 6'6", he was huge. And, he could have swatted me like a gnat and not even noticed. And so I was, the idea of touching him or shaking him or saying, sir, wake up, or what, I didn't want to have anything to do with that guy at all.
Right. No, I understand that. I definitely understand that. It's we had a couple of like instances, some stories in our town.
Yeah.
With people who, there was one time where one of our friends picked up somebody who the doorman at a local bar kind of threw him out into the street, and they were way too brutal on him.
Oh,
He
wow.
was drunk, but they threw him out on the cement, and it was just, they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But a friend of ours picked him up and took him home.
Well, hey, I hate to do this, but we're coming to the end of our time together.
Yep.
So I tell you what, tell people about the Gig Economy podcast and how they can listen to it.
Yep, you can go to the gigeconomyshow.com. That's the best and easiest way to get there.
gigeconomyshow.com. Fantastic. And, you can catch Steve on Rideshare Rodeo and go to uberliftdrivers.com. Of course, you pick us up here on TNCradio.live. 24/7 programming available to you. We've always got very cool stuff going on and have a lot of fun here on the station every morning. We have what we call the morning grind. Starts at 8 o'clock Central Time, goes to 10 o'clock Central Time. Update weather and traffic throughout the country. Give you an idea of what's going on. The drivers love the show, and the truck drivers who we interface with, they love the show, and we enjoy hobnobbing with them and talking with them about what's going on in their lives, and it's been a great time doing that particular show. So I submit that to you that in the mornings you're looking for something to do. We have a lot of good laughs, and so check us out there in the morning sometime. Let's see, we've got a minute left. Tell me one more time, how do people catch your show?
The best way to get to the show is to get to gigeconomyshow.com. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always email us at team@gigeconomyshow.com.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we're out of here. Coming up next, it's an episode of the gigeconomyshow.com.
Podcast, yep.
What's that?
The Gig Economy Podcast, we call it. Yep.
The Gig Economy Podcast. We got 2 episodes coming up there, then an episode of Rideshare Rodeo. If on the radio side you're not familiar with those programs, this gives you a chance to check them out. Hopefully you'll love it, and you'll want to find more about them. So there'll be information on that show too about how to hear more of their stuff. So thank you very much, Jesper. Appreciate you. And we will be back with you all again next week right here on TNCradio.live. All right, so that shuts me down on the radio side.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We're going to end early tonight, and so come back next Friday for more TNC Radio. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Jesper. Appreciate it.